They may not be the sexiest team to watch, but the New York Islanders have fantasy assets to take your team to the top and win your championship. Let's get right into today's episode.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast. I am your host, Steele Rodin, flying solo on today's Wednesday episode. Thank you so much for tuning back in and holding the fort down throughout the summer season, throughout the Stanley Cup finals, and the postseason as well. We appreciate you out there. We love you out there. Thank you so much for all your support. We're getting into the New York Islanders' top 5 assets going into the 2025-26 fantasy hockey draft coming up in September, October. We're breaking it all down. I'm breaking it all down on today's episode. And while this may not be the sexiest team to watch or the best team to cheer for, there are a few players, especially that we're going to dive into on today's episode, that you want to keep your eyes peeled on and circling these guys going into the fantasy hockey draft. We're going to break it all down on today's episode, starting with Anders Lee, coming in at the number 5 spot for the New York Islanders going into the fantasy hockey draft. Had a really, really good season, second best production offensively right behind Bo Horvat. Played all 82 games this past year. May not be the fastest player anymore, may not have that quick first step or that jump that he used to have just 5 years ago. But 54 points, his best season since 2017. So really good year offensively, 29 goals, 25 assists for 54 points for Anders Lee, 35 penalty minutes. Has that physical aspect to his game as well, 121 hits, 39 blocks, and 233 shots, which was also a career high. So when he's going, when he's comfortable and confident, his game is strong. You know where he's going to be pretty much all night long in front of the net, especially on the power play. I know the Islanders had one of the worst power plays and have had one of the worst power plays over the last couple of seasons. Anders Lee, ADP, 163.7. So on average was getting drafted in the middle of the 15th round. His pre-rank on Yahoo was 169. He finished the season 107. So he finished way above where he was expected to finish at the end of the regular season. A lot of value with this player just because of what he brings offensively when he is going. He's been a very durable player over the last 4 seasons as well, only missing 7 games in the last 4 years. 17 minutes of average ice time this last year is also pretty much a career high for him over the last couple of seasons too. I like this player a lot, more so as a streaming option. If he is available, he is going to get drafted more so, again, as a depth player towards the 15th, 16th, 17th round. I wouldn't even mind taking him a little bit sooner because of how I feel about the New York Islanders and what their chances are. I know Flip said on yesterday's episode when we discussed the top 5 targets for the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's going to be tough for all these metropolitan teams, but even just the Eastern Conference in general. Now that you have the Montreal Canadiens, the Ottawa Senators taking that next step, we also like the potential of the Detroit Red Wings. We like the potential of what the New York Rangers are still capable of, the offensive capabilities of the Buffalo Sabres. If they can somehow fix their blue line and their blue paint woes right now, those are a bunch of teams that are fighting for wildcard spots on top of the Capitals, the Hurricanes, the Devils, the Blue Jackets, who had a very good chance of making the postseason. It's going to be tough, especially in the Metropolitan Division with all of those great teams. The Islanders really need to bounce back in a big way. They always seem to be a 500% team or just above 500% at the end of the regular season, either just squeaking in or just barely missing that second wild card spot. Anyways, Anders Lee comes in at the number 5 position. I don't mind taking him somewhere in that 15th round. At the 4th spot, I went with Matt Barzal. And, this one's interesting to me because I like this player a lot. I think there's so much potential that we really haven't got to see over the last, really since his rookie season. I know he was a point per game player just 2 years ago in the 2023-2024 year, had 80 points in 80 games, 23 goals, 57 assists. We know that he's capable of producing this. We know that he's capable of having to carry the team on his back at times with his playmaking ability. With that being said, I put him at the number 4 spot because of these injury concerns he's been dealing with. 30 games played this past year, had a knee injury 3 seasons ago in 2022, only played 58 games. He's dealt with injury throughout his career. That's worrisome for me going to this draft. However, his ADP was 127.8. He was getting drafted in the 12th round. I think he could get drafted even earlier than that. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually falls somewhere to, again, the 12th or 13th round, but I wouldn't be scared of reaching on this player even at the 10th round, even in the 10th round. I'm not going to go any earlier than that just because of the injury concerns and how this team is coached, how this team plays, more of a stingy defensive team rather than popping off offensively, even though he has that playmaking ability. Matt Barzal, for me, comes in at the number 4 spot. And I'm just worried a little bit about, again, how tough this Metropolitan Division is going to be for this New York Islanders team. I think Matthew Darsh, he's getting a really good chance of running a team for the first time as the new general manager of the New York Islanders. I think this, again, going into this offseason, he's got a lot of work to do to add those depth pieces to the lineup, because when you look up and down the lineup, this is a very old team. You've got Jean-Gabriel Pageau, you've got Anders Lee, you've got Kyle Palmieri, you've got Casey Zizekas, you've got all these players. And again, I know they traded Brock Nelson at the deadline to the Colorado Avalanche, who just re-signed with them on a 3-year deal. This is an older team. There's a few younger guys like Siplikov who have shown some spurts of offensive ability. Simon Holmstrom as well, Hudson Fasching. These are guys that you're not really going to be drafting, maybe streaming them on a week-to-week basis if the schedule is very advantageous for the New York Islanders. But it's going to be interesting to see what Matthew Darsh does in his first season running the team as a general manager. Obviously, a two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning as the assistant there. Anyways, Mathew Barzal comes in at the number 4 spot for me. Let me know where you would draft Mathew Barzal and if you see him once again being a point per game player, if you take him sooner or you let him slide a little bit in your fantasy hockey draft. When we come back after the break, make sure you're staying tuned in for the top 3 fantasy hockey targets of the New York Islanders. I'm going to break it all down. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shell variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at the desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. And if you love cracking every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here. Steele Rodin, Flip Livingstone will be flying solo on tomorrow's episode. Make sure you're staying tuned in for that episode as well, where he breaks down the top 5 targets of the New York Rangers, back-to-back New York Kings. However, number 3 on the list, we had Lee at number 5. We had Mathew Barzal at number 4. At number 3, I'm going with Noah Dobson. I could see him even being higher on some people's list, potentially even flips. I have him at the number 3 position because of how much I value the top 2 guys in Bo Horvat and Ilya Sorokin. Again, a disappointing season overall for this team. Horvat led the team with 57 points. That's not good enough from a superstar player or just from any superstar player on any given team. Dobson was disappointing. 39 points in 71 games after a 70-point career-high season in 2023-2024. The hits were down, blocks were down, the shots were up from the year prior, but the points was almost a 50% drop from 70 to 39. And maybe, again, that 70-point season is an outlier. Maybe that is his ceiling. He's not going to hit that again, but he should be a defenseman where consistently every single year should be putting up 55 to 65 points. Again, disappointing season. However, it has been 4 years now in a row of 10-plus goals. So the goal scoring ability on the back end has not been a problem for him. The playmaking ability, the passing went from 60 to 29. So that was a big drop off right there. Went from a plus 12 to a minus 16. The penalty minutes have been consistent throughout his career. But this year, 196 shots, 126 blocks, it's down 60 blocks from the year prior, and 57 hits, down from 84 hits the year prior as well. His giveaway to takeaway ratio is almost unfathomable. 2 years ago, he had 2-to-1 in giveaways to takeaways, 62 giveaways to 32 takeaways. This past year, 108 giveaways to 36 takeaways. So obviously struggled handling the puck in the defensive zone, struggled creating those plays for the offensive group, especially on the power play. They've been one of the worst power play teams in the league. Noah Dobson, his ADP was 42.6. He was getting drafted on average in the middle of the 4th round. However, his pre-rank at the beginning of the season was 231. So Yahoo had him ranked very, very low. He finished the year 165th, which would put him somewhere in that 13th to 14th round, I presume. I think that's way too far down. I think round 4 is a little bit high for where he's playing right now and what the overall team provides offensively. I still think there's a lot of value with these players we're talking about. But Noah Dobson comes in at number 3. I would put him somewhere. I would draft him somewhere in that 5th or 6th round. I could see him going a little bit earlier because he is the number 1 defenseman. He's going to be getting number 1 power play time, penalty kill time. He's going to be playing upwards of 23, 24 minutes a night on an average basis. Noah Dobson, we love him on this podcast. I just don't think you want to reach too high on this defenseman. I do think he is going to be back in that 50 to 55 point production offensively this next year, especially it all depends on the health of Mathew Barzal. That goes to Mathew Barzal's fantasy value as well. Drafting both those guys at least in the top 100 picks. At number 2 on the list for fantasy hockey, top 5 targets of the New York Islanders, I have Bo Horvat. Bo Horvat comes in at number 2, and his ADP was actually a lot worse than Noah Dobson as well. ADP of 110.7. So he, again, getting drafted in the middle to late round of the 10th round right there. His pre-rank on Yahoo, Bo Horvat, was 67th on the pre-ranks. He finished the season ranked 86th. So I think this is a player that, again, because of where he plays, not being the sexiest team in a very tough division, in a very tough conference in the Eastern Conference right now, maybe that's why he's sliding down the draft board a lot to the 10th and 11th round. I'm more than comfortable drafting Bo Horvat somewhere in the 7th or early 8th round. That's where I would be placing him right now. Had a really good season, like I said. First on the team in point production, 57 points in 81 games, 100 hits. He has that physical aspect as well. A career high, 140 on net, which is his second best of his career, and then 57 points in his second full. He's been durable, hasn't really struggled with injuries that much over the last 4 to 5 seasons. I like this player a lot. I'm willing to draft him, and I'm going to be drafting him if he's available somewhere in that 7th or 8th round. Was getting a career high over 20 minutes of average ice time this past year. And when you just look at the top line, again, it's not sexy with what they had to deal with. Bo Horvat was playing with Anders Lee and Kyle Palmieri. That's who he had to play with. There really wasn't any other options because of Mathew Barzal being injured for more than half the season. Not a ton of great prospects in the making right now offensively. I mentioned Siplikov, who has shown a little bit of promise at times, but Bo Horvat needs Mathew Barzal. If Mathew Barzal is healthy and Bo Horvat's healthy, that top line is a scary trio with Anders Lee on the left side. So I like the top line there. Other than that, it gets a little bit dicey going into the bottom 9 even. However, Bo Horvat, number 2 on the New York Islanders list. At number 1, we're going to talk about it after the break, why I have Ilya Sorokin as the number 1 option from the New York Islanders, probably one of the best goaltenders. Maybe he falls into the 0G strategy. I know he did last year. We're going to break it all down after the break. Ilya Sorokin, number 1 on the list. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin. Thank you so much for all that love. Ilya Sorokin comes in at the number 1 position. We like this goaltender a lot. I know Flip loves this goaltender. He's drafted him on multiple occasions throughout his different fantasy hockey leagues. He had him in one of our competitive or casual league as well. He's a great goaltender. And even though the team struggled at times throughout the season, he still finished with a .907 save percentage, a 2.71 goals against average. And to me, is still one of the best goaltenders in the league right now, given what the stats were. So when you look at the overall goalie statistics right here, Ilya Sorokin, where he finished amongst other goaltenders, again, .907 save percentage, 2.7 goals against average. And I'm just bringing up the official stats from the regular season. Amongst goaltenders who played more than 25 games, he was in the top 10. .907 save percentage, 2.71 goals against average. He finished 22nd amongst all goaltenders. Again, just playing a minimum of 5 games. You take that out, he's a top 10 goaltender. Again, the team just struggles on the penalty kill. They struggle on the power play. And this goaltender seems to get left out to dry a lot. Still had 30 wins, 24 losses, and 6 ties with 4 shutouts on the season. A second best 61 games played. I think that also was given maybe why there was some inconsistencies in his game. There really wasn't a backup goaltender to rely on at times. Varlamov was injured pretty much throughout the season, only played 10 games. Marcus Hogberg played 15 games. Then you had Skarek and Lennox play 3 games combined between those 2 guys. So a lot of it depended, and they relied heavily on Ilya Sorokin. He got left out to dry more than once throughout the entire regular season. His ADP, Ilya Sorokin, 98.4. That was the big surprise to me, where he was getting drafted on average throughout fantasy hockey leagues. He was getting drafted in the early 9th round. And this was not just one of my leagues. It was pretty much in all 5 of my leagues where he slid down the board. His pre-rank on Yahoo was 118th. He finished the season 96th. So actually where he was getting drafted on average is where he ended up finishing at the end of the regular season. So maybe people just weren't buying into this Islanders team being good. Maybe they expected injuries to pile up, them being on the older side of the fence here with some of their veteran players on the team, like I've already talked about. I still think he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. When you look across the league at again, the best goaltenders and who played this season, Logan Thompson, Anthony Stolarz, Igor Shesterkin was inconsistent at times. Connor Hellebuck as well. Darcy Kemper, Andrei Vasilevsky. Those are obviously some of the top 5 goaltenders. You start to get into Linus Ullmark, Dustin Wolf, Jake Ottinger as well, top 5. Ilya Sorokin is a top 10 goaltender. He should be one of the first, if not first, at least 6th, 7th, or 8th goaltender taken off the board. It was very surprising to see him fall that far down the draft board. And again, like I said off the top, while this may not be the sexiest team to cheer for, to watch, or even with the sexiest fantasy assets, all 5 of those players are draftable, starting with Ilya Sorokin at number 1, followed by Bo Horvat. You can kind of go in between 3 and 4 with either Noah Dobson and Mathew Barzal. I would go with Noah Dobson because of the injury concern with Barzal. And then to follow it up, Anders Lee on the back end. Again, some streaming options just for the future. Kyle Palmieri had 24 goals, 24 assists. JG Pajot had 14 goals, 28 assists. He brings that physical aspect to the game as well if you're in a banger league. Those are some good options on a week-to-week basis depending on the schedule. But the top 5, they will remain the same for the Islanders. Anders Lee, Matt Barzal, Noah Dobson, Bo Horvat, and Ilya Sorokin make the top 5. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, make sure you check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale, and find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Again, stay tuned in and peeled in, Locked On, for tomorrow's episode where Flip will break down the New York Rangers' top 5 fantasy hockey targets going into the 2025-26 fantasy hockey draft. I wish you good luck with your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow. Peace.